have you come in and then, you know, start your introduction, and I'll go set up your machine then. Everyone welcome.
Hey, thanks for coming out on a, what day is it? Thursday. Driving out here, I would somehow have the sun in my eyes the entire time. Maybe you had that same condition. But I heard, so are you back there. But who has ever been to a Think Visual workshop with me? Besides these two guys. Okay, so I've been hanging around Houston. I moved here a little while ago. I'll get into that in just a second. And was coming to Improving once a month on Saturdays for Product Houston. And that's where we met. And I am not of this world of computer design, app, product, technology. Instead, I'm a visual, trying to be lizards on a rock and not move when I ask a question. So, but I'm going to start with just, how did I get here? So I'm a visual artist. I grew up drawing and painting. I went to traditional art school, studied painting, printmaking. While I was in art school, I started studying graphic design, and I really loved stories and pictures and children's books and editorial cartoons. So I knew that I wanted to bring all those together and ended up majoring in illustration. And so that's my whole life, is bringing pictures and words and people together through drawing. Now I've done this, you've done this, I Googled myself, you Googled yourself, and I get a lot of pictures like this, the back of my shoulder and my ear and my arm and my head, because that's most of the pictures that get posted. But what I'm doing there is I'm listening to you or other people share stories. Now what's cool is I found this picture of my dad from 1965, and we have the same ear, shoulder, neck, and arm. Wow. This is my father. He was teaching law in Malawi, and he didn't have any textbooks, so he used to just draw cartoons to explain legal cases and concepts.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And what's really fun is a couple of years later, he moved to Kenya.
Yeah. I just tried to.
That's a cool sound effect. He moved to Kenya in East Africa after meeting my mother, and I was actually born in Nairobi, Kenya. And he taught at the Kenya Institute of Administration, which is a big law school there. But we moved back here to the United States, and about 10 years ago, I went back to Kenya for the first time, took my mother and my oldest daughter, and we had a book that my father had hand-typed while he was in Kenya, and we brought it back to the Kenya Institute of Administration, and I was able to tell them, hey, I'm an artist because my father drew cartoons here in Nairobi, and he loved drawing cartoons, and now here I am. And they were not impressed by that. They were impressed by the legal book that he had hand-typed. But I really grew up in Tennessee, in East Tennessee, which is a very mountainous area in the Appalachian Mountains. And now that I live here in Tomball, Texas, I joke that my house is my mountain beach house. It's only 10 hours from the nearest mountain and 2 hours from the nearest beach. But one of the major exports of Tennessee is this. Does everybody know what this is?
Moon pie.
Moon pie, that's right. One of the major exports. And in Middle Tennessee, they have Moon Pie Day, which is really a weekend where there's moon pie eating contests, moon pie chucking contests, and you have to drink moon pie with RC Cola. It's the pre-diabetes festival is what it's known as. After growing up in Tennessee, I went to school in St. Louis. I lived a lot of different places, including outside the United States for 5 years, teaching English and studying art. And then I moved to Chicago. I had a very clear strategic plan. I was 25 years old. I finished art school. My cousin Brian's roommate was getting married in the apartment. I did not make that noise.
I was trying to help.
Okay. My cousin's roommate was getting married, moving out of the apartment, and he said, "Hey, do you want to move to Chicago?" And I said, "Yes." That was the end of my plan. Was just, that was the strategy. Move to Chicago. So I started working in Chicago as a temp. Has anybody been a temp ever in their life?
Yeah.
Temporary worker, you get an assignment.
Yeah.
So I had lots of different jobs, and a lot of them involved PowerPoint, making PowerPoint slides for insurance companies. And I was about to chew my arm off because I had gone to art school, I had lived outside the country, I had worked with kids, and I felt very safe in Kenya. No, but I moved to Chicago and was working as a temp, complaining to my friend who worked at the temp agency that corporate America sucked. It was so boring. People are so amazing. There's so many interesting ways to learn, and here we are just typing bullet points into a PowerPoint for an insurance company. And so she received a job posting and said, "You know what, you're annoying and you like to draw, and this says we need somebody who likes to draw, so go check this out." And it was at an innovation center. And that is going to be the crux of my rant session, and my hopefully inspirational stuff I'm going to share with you is from 1996 when I walked into that innovation center. I've been hanging around the innovation process, people who call themselves innovators, people who try to figure out how to design collaborative processes and events for pretty much my whole life, and blending in visual thinking and art. So this is me at a conference in Mexico, and I had spent many years working on whiteboards and flip charts and was really hungry to get messy. So I began trying to do full paintings during basically TED Talks. So you had 18 minutes during a presentation, and I would paint what I would call a movie poster for each of the speakers. And it kind of got out of control because doing 40 of those in 2 days is quite the challenge, but pretty fun. So here are just some thumbnails from those 40 paintings. I don't know what they're going to talk about. I don't know who they are. When they start talking, I start painting. When they're finished, I've finished. So it's just in that window where there's this dialogue between the storyteller, the listener, who is trying to turn it into a visual, and then I see these as gifts back to everybody else. So it's just an artifact that's a gift back into the world, but the real goal is to capture, some decisive moment that's unique to that story and that storyteller. Also, I moved into showing up at conferences. This is from TED Med, the medical science version of TED, and creating giant chalk walls based on user input through this sophisticated mechanism known as the Post-it note. So a lot of the work that I'm doing involves that collaborative dance between people coming up with ideas or capturing something, the sophisticated technology of the Post-it note, and then turning those into words and quick icons to create a visual story. So this is the 50-year history from Project Zero at Harvard University, tracing all the publications and scientific papers from those 50 years. Through a random set of circumstances, I also became a professor of law.
Wow.
I am not a lawyer. I have not studied law. I draw cartoons. My father was a lawyer. He drew cartoons. That's where the similarities stopped. How do I move this thing? So I'm a professor of law. But how did I become a professor? Well, it all goes to Orlando, Florida. Once again, a strategic plan, perfectly crafted, expertly executed. I'm in this crowd in Orlando in the second largest convention center in the United States at the HIMSS conference, the Health Information Medicals, I forget what the S and the S stand for, but it's the big software conference for health IT, basically. And I was at a big chalk wall, taking in Post-it notes from people walking by to build the history of medical records, going back to 1347. Anybody here work in healthcare, biomedical informatics? History student? Student, yeah?
Yeah, what about?
Why do you think the history of medical records, at least in the Western Hemisphere, starts in 1347?
No idea.
Well, what's written up there? The Black Death. It has to do with the plague. So in these European villages, there was usually a church. And in the church, there was a big Bible. And next to the Bible, or at the front of the Bible, they would make a record of who was born in the village, who got married in the village, who died in the village. And in 1347, there was the bubonic plague. And they started to put a black dot next to people who died of that cause of death. And that is the origin of medical records, cause of death, COD, and it's still a code that's used today. So going up to now with AI and IoT and all the acronyms around devices and products and information and technology and health, we're still just recording what happened to who, when. So here's the final kablammer. So I was at this wall doing my deal with Post-it notes, chalk, writing things up there, having people walk by and say, oh, you misspelled entrepreneurship. I'm like, thank you very much. Can you draw a rat from memory? And a woman came up and said, hey, what are you doing? I explained what I was doing. And it turns out we were both living and working in Chicago. And she said, well, I run an innovation center in Chicago for healthcare devices and new startups. Would you like to come and speak? Much like I'm doing today. And I said, sure. She said, well, it's over lunch for a half hour. We don't know if anybody will be there, but come on down. So I went on down, and there was a really excited guy named Manfred who said, the head of our department, Leslie, would love what you do. Who's Leslie and what's your department? Well, it's a Master's of Science and Law program, Northwestern University, for people who are moving from life sciences into business or law or government, anything that requires awareness of the FDA approval process, contract law, procurement law, design thinking, and entrepreneurship. And I said, that sounds pretty cool. Met with Leslie, and then bing, bang, boom, I became a professor. Now, I have actual lawyers in my family, and as soon as I got this emailed letter saying you were a professor at the School of Law, I asked my friend Dave, who's a real professor, can I tell my lawyer relatives that I'm a law professor? He said, yes, you can. I never spent $1 on law school. So that I bragged to them immediately. All right, so I asked them, well, why do you want me to come and work with your students? And Leslie said, well, we have a lot of challenges explaining complex systems and big problems in the law sector without just using black and white text. So we want our students to be able to tell stories, to explain things visually, and to affect change within large systems. I said, cool, well, tell me about your students. She said, well, some are PhDs and have postdocs. Some are just out of college, so they're like 22 years old. Some have 5 to 10 years work experience, some have none. Some students are interested in working in private industry or government. Now see, that thing's gonna ruin my punchline. Or go to medical school, and I said no. And let's say like 50% of them, bang, that says art school. Now this is why technology is frustrating. Who's the product owner of this product?
What if you hit start chatting?
What happened?
But you
Like
can't-
with the mouse.
Yeah.
So you ruined my
It's only
punchline.
on the TV.
That's right. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. I'm gonna survive. Okay.
Can
So
you get
I,
Can
yeah.
you get an escape or something to get rid of that?
I
Oh,
have no idea, but
Move it
I'd
around.
rather just talk to you guys and you'll imagine anything that's behind it. Okay, so so that's what I do. So twice a year, I go up to Chicago. I work with students to explain complex topics in the legal and medical science and business field, and work with them on visual presentation design, storytelling, etc. Over the pandemic, there was a mass migration. I don't know if you remember. It seems like none of us remember 5 years ago, 6 years ago, but a lot of movement around this country. So part of my family moved down here to Houston. I have 2 teenage daughters. They were with that part of the family, and I said, I need to be with my teenage daughters. So I migrated down here in Houston, to Houston in 2021. And immediately learned, now I grew up in the South, in Tennessee, but not in this part of the South. So we have crawfish, but I didn't realize the volume that humans could consume. So whenever somebody comes to visit me, I pick them up at the airport and I ask them, do you have a shellfish allergy? If the answer is no, then we go immediately to crawfish and noodles so that I can watch them eat one of the Houston delicacies with no utensils. Also, I like documenting my 2006 Honda Element next to Texas-size suburban trucks. So these are all in front of Panda Express, Mattress Factory, churches. You know, they are not off-roading or hauling equipment. And I discovered Product Houston. So down at the Ion, I was kind of looking for my people. Where are my people? Where are my people? And I sat next to this guy with a big white beard, who you may know, Ray Pender. And we were in a workshop similar to this. And we had to be in, we were paired up as part of the workshop, did a little exercise, and he said, oh, I'm doing a little thing on Saturdays called Houston Product Community. Why don't you come on by? So I started hanging out at Houston Product and just bringing my trusty notebook, and this is just what I keep for myself to take notes. So I'm a fancy term for this, or maybe not so fancy, is sketchnoting. But I've been doing this forever. Maybe you do too. It's just making notes with some icons and titles and subtitles and arrows and borders. But I began just hanging around Product Houston, coming to Improving, going to the Ion, and trying to get smarter about aerospace, about oil and gas industry, about healthcare, and about technology. If you are interested in learning more, I recommend my friend Mike Brody's book, The Sketch Note Handbook. If you want to learn some more details about methodology around that. Right now, this week is, I'm not here to promote this, it's just a fact that it's happening, is World Sketchnote Week. And there are practitioners all around the world who are volunteered to teach different sessions all throughout the week, and it's free. So this is a primary tool that I use and have used for years. There's a URL that you can imagine on the other side of that.
Scotland.
It's alphachimp.com/sketchnotes. So this is where I've been posting sketch notes from different events around town, including probably 8 to 10 of the Product Houston meetups. This is just my personal archive. It's whatever account.
Yeah, continue.
This is just a snapshot of various notebooks that I have around the house. And it's my now She'll be 18 on Saturday. My 18-year-old daughter, who got me back into really concentrating on how to archive and document my work and my life. So before she got into sketchnoting and junk journaling, anybody a junk journaler in here? It's basically saving every scrap of paper and collaging it together, but it creates a sensory impression of one's life in book form. I saw that she was doing that, and I was like, I want to get more intentional on how I record the things I might move through in my life. So I've been showing up lots of different places. People started to notice me doodling and asking, hey, can I get a picture of that after the lecture? I was like, sure. So I started to move around town and make friends. So if anything, visual learning, taking notes publicly, sharing them with others, is a great way to connect with other humans. So I've met wonderful people who I consider dear friends. And out of that came an intention and a request to teach visual thinking in Houston. So I've taught all around the world, a lot in Chicago, as I've mentioned, but I wasn't doing anything in Houston. And then in 2023, brought my friend Christopher Fuller from LA, who I've known for many years, and we did the first workshop here with Wade Pender and at the Impact Hub, which is now at the ION. So my goal, why am I telling you this? My goal is to integrate all the hard things that are being done in Houston, oil, gas, technology, sending people to space, building the future, logistics, et cetera, with the artistic side of Houston, because Houston's amazing. You all have the best street art and mural scene in the country right now. And you have incredible artists everywhere, but there's always this divide between people who make stuff, people who design stuff, and people who express stuff. Now, the individuals, and you may be one of them, you don't feel that. You're like, hey, I go to work and I make stuff, and then I design stuff, and then I'm also a creator on the side. So how can we bring all this together so it's less exotic and not divided up as much? That's my mission. So enough about me. I will pay you $10 if you can. I'll give you free pizza all night.
I want that.
Yes. We want to hear about you. So if you need handouts, some Sharpies, hand this back there. Grab a
I'll
Sharpie.
get it. Do you need pens or Sharpies?
I got 2 boxes floating around. And then you need a piece of paper here.
One job.
Take it and pass it down.
You got it?
Do you have any more pens?
Thank you. I'm throwing off my game by this little box here. I'm going to dream about it tonight.
Everything you're doing is cool, so don't worry about it.
Thank you. All right.
You don't mind me standing 50 bucks.
You have a paper, you see it?
So I'd like to invite you to create a simple map of how you got here, however you interpret it. How you got here tonight and improving, how you got here to Houston, how you got here metaphysically in your career. But use just simple shapes, only a few words, but make a map of how you got here. Like, what were some of the important milestones? I mentioned my cousin Brian's roommate getting married. That was a major milestone that brought me to Chicago. I mentioned complaining to my friend at the temp agency that corporate America sucked. And she said, well, go check out this weird place. I don't understand what they do there, but they do innovation. That was a big trajectory, or a change in my trajectory. So what are the milestones or different important parts that brought you here? Which counts?
I think, I don't know, I don't think it's hers.
It's not hers, it's not mine, I think it's this.
There's not much control.
There's no right or wrong way to do this, there's only your way. So what's your map of how you got here?
We're just supposed to use like one section, right? Or,
No, you fill it, you know, a map is usually the whole page.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna do different sections like you do.
Nope.
No, okay, this one is,
However you want to do it.
okay.
How can you bling out your map? Think back to looking at old National Geographic maps or inspirational maps. Are there frames you can put around it? Are there more icons, more labels? And then every map needs a title. So what is the title of your map? All right, 1.5 minutes. Seconds. All right. You don't have to finish right now, but you're going to finish for the moment. So now we're going to use this in order to share your story, and would like to invite you to stand up, bring your map and nothing else. Come out here and find 2 or 3 additional friends that you may not know yet. So you want groups of 3 or 4 people, no more than 4 people. Stand up. See, this is the part where I have to pretend you're middle schoolers. Stand up. Hold your map.
Right here.
Hi.
3 big groups of 3 to 4 people. You can move around so you're comfortable.
What's your name? Lucy. Hi.
And we're going to use your app as a tool to just quickly share your story.
Mine is story stick figures.
And then, hold on if I can have your attention. Wait, hold on. So after, hold on just a second, guys. So after you've shared your story, and you only have like 2 to 3 minutes, okay? So you're using this as a tool, and when you've heard somebody's story, what is a proper response?
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're just going to leave it at that. You're not going to say, hey, I was there too. Hey, another thing that I thought of. No, just thank you, move on to the next person, okay? So 2 to 3 minutes, take people on the journey with you. Go.
Okay.
I'll start, I guess. So,
Started up here in the
this is
spring.
a story
This is
of
Lowe's.
how I went from
major cities,
not
and then
having
there's
a job,
I-45.
being employed, to networking
And
more.
then we came over,
Then this is DT&I, Psychological Society, so Tanveer
Marty.
is so I met them.
We passed the race
Attended
track.
more events, met more people. This is the Psychological Society circle. And then this is me traveling to and from work, northwest and back southeast to come back from my job. And this is me still that I started in 2024, now it's 2026. And this was supposed to like come in the middle where like I did some talks and everything. All of these are how I ended up here.
So, I guess I grew up in Germany because my dad was in the military. I had never known anyone who was creative. And so my dad always told me that I was going to be a doctor. And so I went to proceeded to school, and I ended up designing every yearbook that I was
Grade, I went to Millens.
I got out of my job.
My teacher was really amazing.
Are you a big fan of pizza? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've been working at Agile leadership so many of them.
I'm claustrophobic. I started several
I used to work at Home Depot.
and I think it's appropriate
Slack channel. I was just like after meetings and
That's your first name?
that's really good. Did you read that French note or in the text note?
That's how I got here.
There's no wrong way.
I know, but she didn't. I think she did. And he
Some
did.
people get very metaphysical, some people are very
No, I think they got the spirit. Well, I did.
You can try again. You can do it this way. That's like a new door.
everybody share.
Well, I've been at this job for 6 years. Yeah, so I was trying to get, I'm working on a wide array of websites, designing their websites.
All right. Thank you all very much. Please thank your group for sharing their journey.
I spent 22 years in IT at ABM.
So let's break down that experience. So when you received your little assignment here, how many people froze with fear, like, I don't know if I'm going to do this right?
I wouldn't say froze with fear, it was more.
Yeah, I try to keep the stakes low for success and failure.
Yeah.
But still, I always see people at different sides of the continuum. Some jump right in,
Yeah.
and some kind of pause. How do I get started? And usually, once people get into the flow state of just thinking and creating, the whole room changes. Like the energy changes, and then time goes very quickly. And some people are done. I think you were finished first over here. Some other people, like, there couldn't be enough time to finish the map. So it's, and none of that is judgment. It's just different experiences and different people's styles moving into that flow state where time becomes irrelevant. And I love that state, being in the flow state. The other thing is, in terms of design thinking and innovation and working with groups, is everybody had a chance to think about the same problem or the same assignment. How did you get here? Everybody had their own work surface. There was a framework and some rules, but not a lot. So you had freedom to interpret it however you wanted to. You moved into the intrapersonal realm of you thinking about this and creating. And then you had to move into the interpersonal realm of sharing it with an audience. And an audience is different than one other person, right? Every group you had at least 2 people that were your audience. So you move into storytelling mode, and then you get to be heard. And at the end, you received what? A thank you, appreciation, and then moved on. So in the kind of innovation world that I moved into, this is a primary tool to use early in working with groups. Hopefully to get all the ideas out around whatever the issue or problem might be, but to allow people to move into that internal space, to wrestle with the problem, create something, share something, and then feel that good, juicy dopamine, oxytocin, whatever the other chemicals are of connecting with other people. And that happened in like 15 minutes. So now you're a different group than when you showed up here originally as individuals. So I've done this with lots of different groups, done it online, done it in person, and I'm just constantly amazed by everybody's diverse approach to a map. And that question, how did you get here? So if you want to hang out and do more exercises like this, at the ION, we have our own monthly meetup. Usually it's first Friday, right after Cup of Joey. We do more creative exercises, and we have a speaker to talk about how they apply visual thinking in their discipline. And what's really cool is this started as I saw friends in Sydney, Australia doing this, and I said, hey, can we do that here in Houston? And they said, cool, let's do that. So this is them saying hello to you from Sydney, Australia. Other visual thinkers. And the goal really is to liberate people. Because I think around 4th, 5th, 6th grade, teachers who are well-meaning people start to judge students and their artistic output. And they start to say, that doesn't look like a flower or a werewolf or whatever you were trying to do. And I find that a lot of adults still have that. They have that kind of fear, that crampedness about any sort of expression, whether it's singing, dancing, drawing. So we just want to keep things loose. We want to keep things moving and use visual thinking as a tool. And there are 6 of us around the world, including in Norway, Nairobi, Kenya, Sydney, Australia, and India, that have started these Think Visual meetups, all with that same goal of helping people to loosen up and to practice the muscles of visual thinking. Okay, so okay. So So I know you guys tried very hard.
What if you click the button?
You can't.
We
There's no
don't
button to
have-
click
It's like
on
in
the remote.
computer.
So Peter, I have one last thing to try.
Projector.
What?
One last thing. Grab that cable over there and plug it directly into your computer.
When they cut off parts, they zoom people off.
You think it's gonna explode?
You may have to exit the meeting on the console. If this doesn't work, then you guys have to live with this.
What does that
It
say?
does not work.
I don't think
got it.
it will.
Right here.
Yay!
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh,
Hey,
that's
now
good.
full screen it.
That's good, much better.
But people online might not be. So I'll apologize to people online.
You can see.
If they're not able to show, then yeah. Let's do that. I'll just.
You're coming back.
I think they should still be able to see,
Yeah,
because this is still being displayed to the Zoom meeting, it's just not to the room.
Yeah. Go ahead and put your laptop here.
Okay.
Okay, that's the chat. That's the chat window. So how do
Okay.
you get rid of chat?
They push the chat in. Yeah, minimize it.
Just minimize.
Or out.
Right there, that top thing right there.
Yes, that does it.
There you go.
All right.
At least that makes it smaller. Okay, good. Good.
Making progress. And I can see my chin as I go through this. All right. So even though I've been doing this a minute, I still have a challenge when people ask me, so what do you do? Because I usually answer by just saying, well, I draw while listening to smart people talk. And they're like, so you make a living doing that? Like, well, I help visualize complex systems so people can make better decisions. I try to make it more fancy sounding. And then there's a whole collage of words that people like me, my friends around the world, that we use. Some say I'm a visual storyteller. Others say I'm a strategic artist. Some say I'm a workshop facilitator, a corporate doodler, graphic illustrator, visual note taker, visual facilitator, graphic recorder. It's a lot of words. Or I listen while smart people talk and I draw. So that's what I've landed on. I'm a graphic recorder. And this is how I introduce myself. I'm a graphic recorder. I like to think visually. I go to live meetings and presentations, and I draw while smart people talk. So I'm just going to share with you some of the friends that I have around the world so you can see the variety of languages, of style, of scope, of scale that different graphic recorders and visual facilitators use in listening to smart people talk and creating drawings, and the different tools that they use. So if some of you are like, yes, I'm totally down with doing this, this is the Ferrari pen for graphic recorders. Neuland, a company out of Germany. They are very sustainable, they're very ethical, and they create pens that are refillable with alcohol ink, no solvents, and no toxic chemicals. So that's what a lot of us use. This is my friend Heather Willems from Minnesota. And we do a conference every year out on the West Coast. And we work on large foam core panels and make these towers afterwards. And so what I'm going to be moving into a little later is a question for you. I'm going to plant the seed right now, is how can you make your environments more visual and use visual storytelling and different materials to make that happen. So we also work digitally on iPads doing digital graphic recording for various lectures. And some of my friends make full-on sets, like theater sets, all out of cardboard and foam core. This is Kelby Bird. She is a mystic unicorn and a real systems thinker working in a church in Massachusetts. This is work from my friend Jace and her team in Taipei, China. And they try to keep things very, very sustainable and only work on recycled materials. But they will move into spaces with hundreds of people and build those work surfaces. So I've been tracking both friends and students, because I'm a trainer, and there are, by my count, over 300 graphic recorders who are doing this professionally around the world. Here's some more of them. There are actually, as far as I know, only 3 of us in Houston. There are like 18 in Sydney. So there are 3 of us in Houston, Kristen McLean and Meg Rato. So if you're looking for local talent, you can hook up with them. Kristen is she's a chemical engineer who over COVID had her first child and decided, I don't want to spend my time in labs and oil rigs. I'm going to focus on visualizing ideas. But she has that oil and gas background. But when I go through these, just look at the variety of style. Some of them are very simple. Some of them are more complex, more cartoony, more artistic. Some of them are animated. So just like your maps, there's no right way or wrong way to do this. There's just your way. So I invite you after today to play around with drawing and visualizing ideas. Is anybody interested in maybe doing that right now?
Doing what? Sorry?
Visualizing some ideas and playing around.
So we have almost 30 minutes for the activity. We do the sessions till 7:30, and 7:30 to 8 is our Q&A and activities. So
Is it my activity or your activity?
your activity.
We're about to do that right now.
Yeah. yes. So people here are good for doing that.
All right, cool. All right, so quick question. How many of you have used, drawn, or seen this icon used for idea or innovation?
Yeah.
Probably everybody, okay? So we're gonna take the light bulb, and I have more paper. Hopefully you still have your pens.
Yeah.
And for this, save some space, okay? So start small. We're gonna go through a couple of different versions here. Where's your pen? You're gonna be a participant now that you've worked so hard to try to help us with the technology. Okay, so maybe start up, right in the upper corner here, and just draw your version of a light bulb icon. Doesn't have to be like this, just your version of a light bulb icon. Just, 1.5 inches, not that big. Okay, your version of a light bulb. So no text, just a light bulb, okay? Should take you less than 20 seconds, okay? Now we're gonna use fun methodology from this guy, Ben Crothers from Australia, and he calls it the snail's method. So we have this light bulb icon that you've seen a million times, okay? And you can draw it pretty quickly, it's not that hard. But we're going to practice interpreting the different ways that we can draw that light bulb. So snails is an acronym, SNAILS. And the first part is, how might you draw this shape differently? So take a crack at drawing your light bulb in a different shape. It could be a square, triangle, a weird blobby shape. But right now, draw a light bulb with a completely different shape than the typical shape that we see in the one that you drew. So draw a light bulb that's a completely different shape. Okay, and for each of these, you're going to have a maximum of 20 seconds. Okay, next challenge is draw as many different varieties, like let's say five different varieties of a light bulb. 5 different varieties or shapes of a light bulb. So you have 1, draw 4 more at least, very quickly. How many different shapes of light bulbs can you draw? They can be crazy shapes. They can be stars. They can be cars. They can be bars. By the way, feel free to, I think the corporate term is leverage this activity for your own purposes. This is good for design, innovation, or design thinking and innovation exercises. That's the point. I'm trying to share something with you. Okay, and then the A is how much you draw a light bulb, but at a different angle. So what does that mean? From up top, so if you're looking down at the light bulb, or maybe it's a giant light bulb, maybe it's a microscopic light bulb, or maybe it's a light bulb that's flattened out. Draw it at a different angle. Think about how architects or engineers have to render their product or their building from all sorts of different angles. All right, next challenge. How can you give your object or your element an identity? Give it a personality. So bring a light bulb to life, but give it a real personality. Is it edgy? Is it nervous? Is it happy? Is it open? Is it enthusiastic? What's the personality and identity of your light bulb? All right, 2 more challenges. And draw a light bulb, but how can you draw the lines in a different way? Are they jagged, fluid, fuzzy? So draw a light bulb, but really change the line quality that you use. Like what would it look like if Pablo Picasso drew a light bulb? Okay, final challenge. Can you change the size of the light bulb? So here you might want to bring a person into it or another character. So how can you make this the largest light bulb ever put on your small piece of paper? Or a micro light bulb? Or a light bulb that's driving a car? Or a light bulb that's taller than the tallest building? Change the size of the light bulb. So think about this if you were applying it to something else. Tennis shoe, computer terminal, I don't know, new electric car. You know, getting your team or your participants or your client to really stretch in a playful way the way that they render or think about something very simple and familiar. So here is your Ben's examples. You know, the shape. It's got a chicken light bulb or a Twitter light bulb. Droopy one, cactus. How many numbers of the light bulb? A, the angle of the light bulb. Identity, different personalities you can create. The line quality and variety. And thinking of the size. So all this stuff around the visual facilitation, the graphic facilitation, incorporating that, design thinking, and innovation, for me goes back to creating a learning environment. Remember my complaint to the temp agent in Chicago? Corporate America sucks. It's so boring. It's not anymore, right? But sometimes it is. But it shouldn't be, but sometimes it is. Even innovation centers. And I'm not dogging improving at all. But
We tried our best.
no, I love and appreciate this space. And I've been to almost all the innovation centers that I can find in Houston. And just because the word innovation is up there doesn't necessarily transform it into an innovation center, in my opinion. Because, you know, for me, making a creative learning environment, whether it's a preschool or something at the medical center or at Rice University, is making it an effective environment, which encourages design thinking and innovation. So does anybody have a good set of criteria or even a couple of things that you would say are required to make a creative learning environment that helps design thinking? Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with the Jefferson Med Lab?
Nope.
Up there, you need to, I'll get with you on it later.
Okay.
Basically, it's a makerspace for med students, okay? But they start with things like...
So I'm going to keep moving here. What is one thing that you've seen at that space that you say makes it...
They use Lego blocks, to be
Okay.
able to build things like bodies or body parts. And they just have sets of Legos all over the place, and they let the medical students go and
Great.
build organs and bodies and all that stuff. But they just
I hear a couple of things in there. One are toys and tools for creative play.
Yeah.
Okay. What are other things that you would add?
Whiteboards.
Yes. Yes. And whiteboards and rolling tables do not an innovation center necessarily make, but they are important. A surface that we can think big and visual, that it can be refreshed quickly.
Something that incorporates sound.
Sound.
Either music or making noises or whatever.
All right. Sound, music, noise making. Games. Okay.
Safety,
What?
like safety, like emotional
safety.
Yeah.
Okay, like psychological safety,
Yeah.
physical safety, okay.
Beanbags and couches.
Huh?
Beanbags and couches.
Comfortable seating, bean bags.
Good point. Sure.
Yeah.
I was thinking like open communication.
Open communication. This is great. So this is something that's getting towards the core of what I'm hoping to explore, which is I've seen so many places invest in whiteboards, tables, beanbag chairs, Legos, books. They forget the process and culture part, right? So let's get into that. What is the process and culture part that you think is essential?
Inclusivity.
Having great speakers like you.
Having some other great speakers.
Play.
But let me park on this. I would change that to facilitator. So somebody that can help set a framework, energize people, guide activities. And I don't want to put words in your mouth.
And facilitator. It's you facilitating the rest of us to show the art.
So yes, I think having either a person or team that is responsible for facilitating the process. All right, design thinkers, what else do you need for true
Inclusivity, like inclusivity.
No,
Inclusion.
inclusion, yeah.
Like inclusion, diversity and inclusion, to just diverse ideas and include, making sure to include everyone,
Different perspectives.
And can I build on that? Also the hierarchy in terms of stakeholders, including all the voices by everybody involved in making, delivering, and living with the solution. Is that fair?
Yeah.
That's what, yeah.
Creating a sense of safety.
Sense of safety? Yeah.
Sense making, like common sense making and relational pathways so that we can build on each other's ideas.
Yes, so it's not just about generating ideas and then walking away from them, right? Because there's the generative process, there's the sense-making process, there's the curation and narrowing down.
Process of documentation.
Documentation.
Process of documentation. Some way of documentation.
Right.
You're preserving the history of the speaking and what the culture and what's
Right.
going on.
Exactly, and there's one phrase from science, and I'm not a scientist, but I am stealing this. If it wasn't documented, it didn't happen.
Or it's forgotten and never known.
Exactly. All right, so keep this going and advocate for what you think needs to be required for a creative learning environment.
Peter, here's
Yes.
something I love that I think the group will enjoy. History is his story being told and documented. We study history because it matters. You're documenting what matters. You're recording the important things, you know, that you're seeing in Houston and around the world and entrepreneurship.
And if we broaden that to things like patient journeys or user experience, it's what matters in somebody's life and experience in regards to the pain point, the problem, the service, or the product, and documenting that well. I'm going to throw this model up. You were here with us earlier today. This is a key model in the world that I moved into early when I was writing to my friend at Corporate America Sucks. She said, go check out this innovation center. And they use a lot of models to guide the philosophy around facilitating collaborative events, design thinking, and innovation. And here's one of them. This is the 7 domains model. It's from the collaboration code. And one of the tenets is people are not resources to be managed. People manage domains. So as a team in an innovation space, in this particular innovation network that I moved into, it wasn't about, yes, there were roles, yes, there was hierarchy, but the questions were not, what are you doing? What are you doing? I told you to do that, you should know this. List of to-do items was asking, are we supporting the education within this environment? Are we supporting the actual physical environment in terms of sound and music? If you think of a restaurant, is it ready to serve? So when people are moving into the space, has the space been refreshed? Are the tools ready for people to work, whether they're Legos or laser cutters? Technical systems, project management, venture management, these were the domains that the entire group was responsible for managing and discussing. So this is a model that we use, in that particular facilitation genre, we use especially when things go sideways, when it feels ouchy, frenetic, messy, uncertain. We come back and ask, all right, what is happening and what do we need to focus on? Project management and process facilitation are related, but they're different. So the project, like a product owner, or a project manager, a project owner, may not be the same as process facilitator. So in that world, the process, the mental models, the shared models with teams that help you to create an effective learning environment. So that's the question I'm going to plant in your brain after we leave our time together. You know, how can you create an effective learning environment, whether you have resources, power, or not? And one resource I would point you to, does anybody know this book, Make Space? This came out of the Stanford D School, and it is basically the cookbook for cheap furniture and hacks for creating mobile whiteboards, using Z-Racks that you can purchase off of Amazon for $209. They're used for garments, but there's recipes for how to translate them into mobile furniture and then how to use that to create a whole environment. It's very inspirational to go to the deep. Here's how you get into D School. Pro tip. You stare at your phone and you act like you belong there. So just go like this and you can go right into the D School. That's how I got in there, take some of these pictures. But you mentioned Legos, having the tools there, the prototyping tools, whether it's cardboard, masking tape, or the fancy tools like 3D printers and lasers, and curating and maintaining the tools well so they're ready to work. All right, we're doing okay on time? Does anybody want to see a really cool event that we did in a barn?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We created a learning environment in a barn. So this was Asheville, North Carolina, at a horse barn. It's my 21-year-old daughter I brought with me as a team member. And we were working with a group that had people coming from all around the world to talk about how to build systems to protect the headwaters of the Amazon River. And this was our work area. It is a barn used for weddings. And not me, but friends of mine, they have a whole kit, a mobile kit of white walls, and the chairs were already there. But all the other gear we brought in, but most of this is some mobile furniture and foam core. So these are the mobile whiteboards. Who said whiteboards earlier? They are key. We created a library with plants, toys, books for people to get into that soft, cozy space because acknowledging diversity, especially in neurodiversity, is important. You need to create safety, safe spaces, exciting spaces, a whole bunch of different zones. So we created a library zone where people could just go, peruse, sit, and a work zone. So this is the production team involved in printing assignments, curating all the writing materials, the production materials for this 4-day workshop, having bins, mobile bins of paper, pens, scissors, tape, etc. And like we're doing today, if anybody's left on Zoom, we have worked so hard for you today.
Yeah, I have to just apologize and ask them to leave.
Okay, let's pretend they're still there. We love you. Bye. Is how to involve people who can't physically be there. So in the different breakout areas, some of the discussion groups, we had people beaming in. And out of black foam core, similar to that big Project Zero, is we wanted to create a universe. So everybody was a star, and they created clusters of people in the room that they are connected to either physically, work-wise, or an interest group. But making the invisible networks visible and flexible was one of the core principles. We had, I think, 6 artists there. Some were just, straight up fine artists, and their role was just to sense, just to bring things in. They weren't recording information in real time. They were really just trying to sense and create a beautiful piece of art. And then others, this is Drew Durand, he's a cartoonist with the New Yorker. Others were graphic recorders and cartoonists bringing ideas to life. But we surrounded everybody with their ideas and used foam core to make those towers. Somebody had an idea in the middle. We should have, like from Peanuts, Charlie Brown. I don't know if you remember Lucy. She would charge Charlie Brown to be, to be psychoanalyzed. So we said we should have that too. Let's just have a stand that people can come to and just express themselves. And we brought in theater as well. So for some of the breakout sessions, they were working on very difficult, heady topics and using theater, comedy, and musical expression allows people to articulate issues that are perhaps emotionally or intellectually or politically challenging in a fun way. So we had all sorts of costumes and masks. And then while the performances were going on, we had the different artists create posters that captured the main theme or topic from that particular performance. But they were still trying to build apps. They were trying to build financial instruments. They were putting together different activations and programs. So, just wanted to share with you, yeah.
So, did I understand correctly, you held this, staged this event, choreographed it, where makers and different, people who were actually working on projects together came in and they had the breakout space to go and get to do this type of creating on the side of their sprints that they were running with whatever product service development they were doing?
Yes, and so we had a facilitation team, including the graphic reporters, several facilitators, the what we call the sponsor team, the client team, and in the morning before the day, during the day, and at the end of the day, they were co-designing what was going to happen next.
That's incredible. And I'm curious, did you gather any data from that event? Meaning, like, were there any proof points that you were able to validate in regards to this type of curated approach, increasing productivity, bringing more powerful ideation about what kind of feedback did you get? Were you able to record any of the data and observations?
So I did not, and this process is used by PricewaterhouseCoopers, Accenture, Capgemini, Ernst & Young, the World Economic Forum, and different forums. And the result of this was the documentation. We captured everything that happened in their design sprints and breakouts into I think it was HubSpot, is what they used for their website, and made a time-based digital capture of all their output. But we weren't measuring like efficiency or number of ideas, or because our role was really to hold the space.
Just have the experience.
Yes.
But you had a body of knowledge that you were already working off of.
Yes, and then we handed off the knowledge that was generated and synthesized during the event.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yep. And then just in the 1 minute left here, this is a local project. And I'm sure many of you are working in hybrid spaces. So with UT Health, the mission was to understand, extract, and synthesize the entire system around community health workers, how they were recruited, trained, deployed, hired, and developed in all of Texas. The goal of which was to take that information, advocate for funding and support at the state level. And so we went from breakout groups and facilitated events into a series of trying to understand what does the system look like. And from that, discern that, well, there's the individual path, like you all made your individual map, how you got here, and then there are the supports and influencers underneath. And I'm just showing you, the iterations that all that work went through to create this ecosystem map that then resulted in, because from this, they had all the data, and they used this, they printed this out and they took it to the state capitol and used it as basically an asset to talk to legislators. But then they said, we need a story that is much nicer. And so we used all that data to create a 2-minute animated explainer. So this is kind of the simple synthesis model, the visual model, that came out of all of that work, all oriented around the individual, Amira, who is the community health worker.
So can I have my question, please, before the time? I have 3 questions, so I want to just put it together. The one question is, I wanted to ask, what exactly is the name of this, your job? Consulting?
I went through all that. It's all that stuff.
I'm seeing a lot of things going on here, right? Then number 2 is, with the advent of AI, Gemini do things like this. Is there a disruption in your kind of work? Or how do you manage AI, or do you integrate AI what you do now? Then the last question.
Yeah.
Is your dad still alive?
Is what?
Your dad is still alive?
No.
Oh, he would have been so happy to see what you have done.
Thank you. So about AI, this is an issue that I'm not wrestling with. I'm thinking about more and more. And for all of us, we are human. We like working with other humans.
Yeah.
Friction is usually eliminated in AI, and friction is very important in humans being able to understand, to feel, and to wrestle with ideas. So yes, I could use something like Gemini to spit this out, or something similar. Probably not as beautiful, right? But but we missed out on all
the process
of working with all the beautiful people who were working with each other. So that is something that I'm really paying attention to, is what are we losing in the invisible networks that are being created by design thinking and innovation workshops. Because if you can just like focus on the output, none of that gets created. None of those individual relationships, trust. So when we were doing the video, that was one of the options, was we could generate the script using ChatGPT. We could use, 11 labs. And I said, you could, but why don't we have Rosalia, who's the most trusted trainer in this field. Everybody knows her voice. Let's have her narrator. She is the trusted messenger. So we had Rosalia do so these are conscious design decisions along the way. What's the point? The point is not the video. The point is extracting all that knowledge, asking, is this right? Sharing that back with everybody, so when the video or the image comes out, people see their involvement. It is validated and justified by their experience. So that's, a lot of people in my world are freaked out right now because workshops are going down. The NIH has cut funding, so one of my major clients, they eliminated the innovation space at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. And I was like, oh, so where is the innovation in medical stuff gonna happen if we get rid of the innovation centers?
In the garage of doctors. In the garage of the doctor. Right? That's what we want.
Yeah, it was with ChatGPT.
I totally did this in my garage. It's good for your bone.
Yes, yeah. Which doesn't really get you very far in the FDA approval process for devices.
That's going away now too,
So that's all I have. I'll stick around with any questions. I want to thank you for having me. Thanks for being patient. And final thing, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. It's the best. And I have.
Can you put up your slide? You had a slide of you. I didn't get a photo of it.
Oh, of my fuzzy face.
You had a slide of you. It's okay if you don't.
We're making that. You can ask me for it and I'll send it over.
I've been following you many years.
Thanks. And I have stickers and everybody loves stickers, so if you want an Alphachimp sticker, they're up there.
Sure, that'd be great.
But thank you very much. Thank you all for
Thank you.
coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Right.
guys, thank you so much. And let me just close a few things. So I'm going to end the Zoom meeting, and next time we are not doing Zoom meeting. Extend it. That's all I have to do, right? I couldn't do this. So one thing is, I see that many of you are new faces. Please connect with me on LinkedIn if it's not. I usually have your email IDs from the contact list, but we don't use email IDs unless there is a notification of special events and other things. The best way for me to reach you is through LinkedIn. So if you're here and if you're not connected, please connect with me on LinkedIn so that I can invite you. And we do these events every month, second Wednesday of the month. So the next event is on 11th of February. It would be more towards an AI topic. We are calling one of the people who has been working into responsible AI space. We will see what his journey and experience has been so far. The last question really that he asked, how is it going on with AI? So we are going to see some of those things getting discussed. Let me just put up the screen so that you can register for the event. And then we take a quick selfie and then we can open up for the networking.
And thank you all for playing and drawing today, and I hope you keep your hand moving. I'll take the Sharpies back if you are willing to let go of it. You can keep your drawings.
Okay, yeah, so you can register here for the
Presentation,
event.
thank you. Very good.
Pictures good, yeah.
Tanveer, that's great.
That was so awful.
No. We took it back up.
Yeah.